Now I need my audience to help me with this one. So, can I have some high-pitched bells ringing? Some bing-bongs, some bing-bongs, bing-bong, 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 bing-bong. Nice, very nice. And I'll also need, when I say, "Are we there yet?" then that's your cue to turn to the person on either side of you and go, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Okay? So wait for it, okay? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Good. Okay, good. And when I say, "Yeah, yeah," you have to say, "Yeah, yeah." So, "Yeah, yeah." "Yeah, yeah." "Yeah, yeah." "Yeah, yeah." Beautiful. I love my audiences. So now I need the bell ringing. Let's start with the bell ringing. That was the sound of celebration when I was a child. It wasn't the church bells ringing. That was the sound that greeted us as we drove down that windy hill at West Gosford with the windows open, and the sound of the bellbirds would fill the car. And my heart would flutter, and I know that's the call to celebrate. That's the sound of summer holidays on the Central Coast, just like Julie. And it was beautiful, the sound of those bells. And my mum and dad, they'd throw the 4 kids in those pre-seatbelt days into the back bench seat of the car, and they'd throw in the pillows and blankets, and there'd be a cut lunch, and there'd be drinks, and there'd be games, and we'd drive up that long, long road all the way from, oh my God, you won't believe it, all the way from Linfield, all the way to Shelley Beach. We thought it was the longest drive ever. And as we drive, there'd be all those games of I Spy that just went on for hours. And then there'd be the inevitable question, "Are we there yet? Are 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 we there yet?" Well, eventually we'd arrive. You know, I don't know why it is, but most of my childhood memories revolve around summer holidays and the Central Coast. You know, it was the entrance. We'd go to the entrance, and the entrance was prawning in the lake, bingo in the Catholic hall, and they'd be exchanging our comics at the bookshop. And then if we were really lucky, if we were really good, there'd be a ride on the carousel. And Baddo Bay, that was Blue Lagoon. That's where we'd go snorkeling and play in the rock pools. And Shelley Beach was the surf and the Sun Valley Caravan Park. And in the early days, I must have been about this big. We'd camp at the park in a big old canvas tent that was owned by my neighbours. They'd put it up and they'd stay for 3 weeks, then they'd move out and my family would move in for 3 weeks. But then my parents bought a caravan. And I can still remember that day when my dad proudly backed that van into the site, straight over the top of a tap, sending a geyser of water up into the air, flooding all the campsites. Dad didn't really like camping, and camping didn't like Dad. After that, he let Mum do all the towing and the backing, and she was a whiz. She'd pop that caravan in, she'd have the annex up before anybody could help. And Dad decided to let Mum take us camping too, because he didn't like camping and camping didn't like Dad. So she'd come up for the 3 weeks with the kids and he'd stay at home. He did come up on weekends, but when he came, it rained. And it rained. And it rained. Dad didn't really like camping. Camping didn't like Dad. Now, it seemed to me that I grew up in that caravan park. You know, every year I'd go home, I'd be a little bit older and a little bit wiser, and I had a lot of momentous firsts when I was there. A lot of significant events. You know, the first drowning, the first kiss, my first love, and they all happened almost at the same time. You see, I was in the surf with my sister Debbie, and she's 2 years older than me, and we were on a sandbar swimming, and all of a sudden a wave swept us off the sandbar out into deeper water. Well, luckily my sister was grabbed by a passing swimmer, but I just got taken out and out and out, and then I went under. And every time I tried to yell for help, the wave would crash on me and I'd swallow water, and my brief life passed before my eyes. I thought it was a goner until two strong arms reached down, pulled me up and threw me on a surfboard, and I looked up into the face of my blonde-haired, stumpy, wompy, real gone surfer boy. Yeah. And he rode that board and me into safety, and then the lifeguards whisked me away before he could administer the kiss of life. But the next day when I was in the caravan park, I was down in the rec room at the back where the cool kids hung out next to the ping pong tables. And there he was, my blonde-haired, stumper-wumper, real gun surfer boy. Yeah. Oh, come on, people. There he was, my blonde-haired, stumper-wumper, real gun surfer boy. Yeah. Very nice. And his name was Scott. And he had blonde hair, dreamy blue eyes, suntan, surfboard, and I fell truly, deeply, madly in love for the very first time. Scott was perfect. He had it all, including an older girlfriend.
Oh.
And she had boobs. I didn't have boobs. I really wanted boobs. I wanted boobs, I wanted Scott, and I wanted my first kiss. But I knew Scott was out of my league that year. So I kissed Brian. Good Lord! No, the kiss wasn't that good. But Brian really loved Neil Diamond's Hot August Night. And when he wasn't kissing me, he was singing Crunchy Granola Sweet. Well, I left a little bit older and wiser that year, and the next year I came back and, yeah, I had boobs. I was so excited. I knew I was going to see Scott, and there he was, my blonde-haired, stumper-wumper, real gun surfer boy. Yeah. He was there again. He was back, and I was in with a chance, and he had another girlfriend. And she had boobs, and she had pierced ears. I didn't have pierced ears. I really wanted pierced ears, and I wanted Scott. He was my first love, my true love. I loved him. It wasn't to be. So I kissed Robert that year. He wasn't a real far gone surfer boy, but he was really deep. He was deep like the ocean. You know, and when he wasn't kissing me, he was reciting original poetry. This one stays with me. It's so beautiful. Nights in white satin, never reaching the end. Letters I've written, never meaning to send. And the funny thing was, he only stayed a week, but then he went home, and then he did write me letters week after week, and they were full of just the best poetry. I wonder whatever happened to him. He's probably a songwriter or something, I don't know. Well, the next year I was back again, and I had boobs, I had pierced ears, and I knew this is the year. This is the year I'm with a shot. I'm I'm going to have that kiss with Scott. And he was there. There he was, my blonde-haired, stomper-womper, real gone surfer boy. Yeah. He had another girlfriend. This time he had a sophisticated, private-schooled 16-year-old. Well, I wasn't a sophisticated 16-year-old. I wanted to be a sophisticated 16-year-old. I wanted to kiss God. He was my first, truest love. So I kissed Philip that year. Philip was Scott's best friend, and he was sort of pretty exotic too, because he also came from an exotic place. He came from Wollongong. Yeah. Well, by the time I became a sophisticated 16-year-old, all the other kids in my family had left home. Jenny had moved up to the coast and started a family, and David had joined the Navy. Debbie was travelling in New Zealand, and I was the only one left that wanted to go to Sun Valley Caravan Park. And so Mum sold the caravan. And I never ever got to kiss Scott. Thank you for the empathy. And a few years later, Mum and Dad, they moved to the Central Coast, and would you believe it, they bought a house just down the road from Sun Valley Caravan Park. And I moved to Canberra and I started my own family, so every Christmas holidays I'd load my kids into the back of the car, and my husband too. We'd load them into the back of the car with seat belts, pillows, games, blankets, packed lunch, drinks, and we'd drive the long way from Canberra up to the coast. And there'd be games of I Spy with Little Eye, My Little Eye. There'd be that punch buggy thing. What was that punch buggy thing? You used to always punch the crap out of your little sisters. Punch buggy. And there'd be the inevitable question. Are we there yet? 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 And when we'd hit the top of the hill at West Gosford, we'd wind the window down, and the sounds of the bellbirds would fill the car, and my heart would give a little flutter, and I'd celebrate, and the children would celebrate. Yes, summer holidays on the Central Coast. And you know, after a while, we loved the Central Coast so much that we moved here too. And as I've lived here for 27 years now, there's still been more and more milestones. There was my first divorce. And there was my first degree at university, my first children's book, the first time I stood on a stage and told a story, and there was my first granddaughter born, and there was my first second marriage. You know, and I guess it's human nature to mark all those significant events in life with a celebration. You know, all those birthdays, all those births, all those things. And it's the stories and the songs and the people and the places that stay in our minds. And they're there, fresh, as if they just happened. And just recently, Ulf and I, we moved to East Gosford, and we now live in a house that's tucked away up on the hill, and it's surrounded by glorious tall gum trees. And the sound of bellbirds fills the air. And the sound of the bellbirds compels me to celebrate again and again and again. Yes, celebrate the summer holidays and celebrate all those significant events, but also celebrate the everyday. Yeah, I think bellbirds are there as a call to celebrate every magnificent, ordinary day.